It is 9 o'clock, which means we are live with Sports Talk Live with your host, Nick Burt. It is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. We got a packed show today. Both of the finals are over. The NBA Finals trophy has been awarded. The Stanley Cup has been awarded. We got some soccer to preview. We have your Week 2 CFL Power Rankings from yours truly. There's just a lot going on. So I guess let's just get into it. Let's start with the final that ended last night. The Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup, their first in franchise history. Obviously, this is only their 6th year of existence, but the Golden Knights put on an absolute outstanding performance last night, winning 9-3. But I think that more had to do with the Panthers. Just they knew it was done, and there wasn't much they could do about it. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk was out for the game last night. Comes out after the game, of course, that he suffered a broken sternum in Game 3 from the hit from Keegan Kolesar. He played in Game 4. You know, he didn't really have a great performance at all in Game 4. And he couldn't play Game 5. It's amazing that he played Game 4, but broken sternum, pretty serious. It's kind of not expected right now that he will start the season in October. It's probably going to be close-ish, but most likely not starting the season. Aaron Ekblad broke his foot, dislocated his shoulder twice, and tore his oblique. He only missed one game this playoffs, but that's another injury that possibly might not have you starting your first games of the year come October. And then Radko Gudas should have been out 6 weeks, according to Maurice, with a high ankle sprain. He only missed one period this playoffs. So a lot of injuries coming out on the Panthers' end. There was nothing they could do last night. With the Golden Knights just looked destined to win that game. I mean, basically right at puck drop, you knew it was going to be Vegas's night. Them starting all 5 of the misfits as the 5 players that are left from the expansion draft on the first lines to start the game. That was a good ode to what has happened these past 6 years from Bruce Cassidy, who it was a year ago today. He was hired by the Golden Knights. Yesterday was a year ago that he was fired by the Bruins. So that's kind of some, karma, I guess I'd say. Like I said, it was just an outstanding performance from the Golden Knights last night and throughout the whole playoffs, if we're honest, especially in the Cup final. It was just outstanding start to finish. They faced challenges, mostly, I would say, in the Edmonton Oilers series. I mean, obviously, we can look back now and say, well, that was the real Cup final. It might have been, it might not have been. Still, the Golden Knights just, they were a team to be beaten basically this year, I'd say. As soon as the Avalanche got out in the first round, I think that really opened a door for Vegas. I thought it opened a door for Edmonton also. So it was basically whoever came out of the Pacific, I believed, was going to go on to the Cup final at least. And it ended up being Vegas, obviously. And I thought about this last night. Obviously, the Panthers had that week and a half break between them sweeping Carolina and the start of Game 1 of the Cup final. And that obviously very much killed momentum. If Vegas ended up sweeping Dallas and the series started like much earlier than it was supposed to, so that Florida would only been on like a 5-day break, Vegas still probably wins this series in 5, I believe. They were a force to be reckoned with, and I 100% believe that. they were ruthless this playoffs, and I don't think anything was stopping them this year. When they were awarded the franchise in 2016, 2015, one of those years that when they were awarded the franchise, the owner, Bill Foley, he said, the goal is playoffs in year 3, Stanley Cup in year 6. Well, obviously they got playoffs year 1, went to the Stanley Cup final year 1, but now here we are, year 6, and they're lifting the cup in Vegas. So big congrats to the people of Las Vegas that have, taken in this team. There were a lot of questions when they were awarded the franchise. Vegas, is that really a professional sports city, or is it just a tourist attraction? I think this has really shown what, Vegas has supported them this whole time. And now they obviously have the Raiders. Looks like they're getting the A's, and looks like there's an NBA expansion team on the horizon. It will be interesting to see where the Golden Knights will eventually end up there. But, I'd still say that the Golden Knights are more supported than the Raiders are in Vegas right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if that continues to stay. They were the first team there. People attached to the first thing that I won't say the first thing they see basically, but that was the first league to take a chance on Vegas. And Vegas has just adopted this team basically and made it their own. They do things their own way, and I wouldn't be surprised down the line, probably it's going to be, I'd say 5 years from now by the time when they have all 4 leagues there. I still believe that the Golden Knights will be the number 1 team that they have by locals. Obviously, the Raiders are going to bring in a lot of traffic because A, it's the NFL, B, it's the Raiders name, and C, it obviously has a bigger chance of bringing in people. I think the Golden Knights will still be the number 1 team in Vegas by locals. But once again, big congrats to the Golden Knights. They looked unbeatable this playoffs. There was no stopping them. So going from that, obviously, we are now into the off season. NHL news and notes. Not a ton going on. Michael Andlauer won the bid for the Senators. We talked about that on Monday. Still looks like it's going to be a process for him to officially become owner of the team, but it's a much slower process than people were expecting, so we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, it seems like it's going to be a long process that, it's going to take a while. I didn't mention with the Golden Knights, Jonathan Marchessault wins the Conn Smythe. Totally deserved. I believe it was down to 4 players. And then when I saw the voting, I was kind of surprised at how lopsided it was. Because I felt like Marchessault could have won, Eichel could have won, Stone could have won, and Hill could have won. And Marchessault was the clear winner by the votes. So kind of surprised by that, but completely deserved. Fitting ending. He got picked up from Florida in the expansion draft. He is one of the misfits that was left. And, wins the Conn Smythe Trophy against his former team. So big congrats to him on that. Back to news and notes. The Penguins hired Jason Spezza as assistant GM, reuniting with Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh. Not surprised by this at all. The two seem to work really well in Toronto. And, when Spezza stepped down, it kind of was a given that he would basically, he would be going where Dubas goes, and that's what happened. So I'm not really surprised by this at all. And I think it will be a good hire. I believe it. He seems to be getting to a place where he'll be a good GM. And he just needs those years under Dubas. And he's getting more of that. I wouldn't be surprised 2-3 years from now, he ends up being a full-on GM somewhere. He might end up being GM in Pittsburgh, since that hiring process really hasn't. It started, but it hasn't yet. I don't think he takes the job now. We'll see what happens, but I don't think he takes the job now. But I wouldn't be surprised if a few years down the line he is a GM in a different location, or maybe Pittsburgh. Who knows? The betting odds came out for next year's Stanley Cup winner basically as soon as the finals, or the Stanley Cup final, ended, which not surprised by at all. That's how it always happens. The Avalanche are the betting favorites to win the Stanley Cup next year. So the Toronto Maple Leafs come in second. The Oilers are third. The Devils are fourth. The Bruins are fifth. The Golden Knights are sixth. So there's your top five plus the sixth, because that was the defending Stanley Cup champion. Can't really say I'm surprised by these. The betting markets will always be heavily favored on Edmonton and Toronto, because Edmonton has McDavid. Toronto always is going to be, they're going to be this will be the year. And looking back on that, also just looking back to that Panthers series with the Maple Leafs, if the Maple Leafs end up here, which again, we're getting into a lot of hypotheticals, I still think the Golden Knights win that series. The Golden Knights looked absolutely unstoppable. I think you could have put anybody except possibly the Bruins. I believe the Golden Knights win all those series. The Bruins one will be close, but they might win that one too. So I'm not surprised by these betting odds at all. I am a little surprised that Vegas is sixth. I would have expected them probably to fit in between Toronto and Edmonton, but they're not. So we got a long way to go. We still have a full off season ahead. We don't know what rosters are going to look like come opening night. So a lot still to come from that. So we won't get too bogged down in those headlines. And we'll move on to the other finals. These ended Monday night. Denver Nuggets win their first NBA title. It was 46 years, I believe, it's been for them. They came into existence in the 60s as the Denver Rockets in the ABA. That went up to 76. They became the Nuggets within there. With the ABA, they merged into the NBA. Didn't make a finals until this year, and now they are NBA champions. And what a run it was. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, what a run. They are very much in the same position as the Golden Knights for me, and they just looked unbeatable. A lot of people doubted them coming into the playoffs. They were the 1 seed in the West. I was surprised by it. It felt like this Nuggets team was different this year. They obviously proved out to be different. And they, like I said, they just looked unstoppable. It was mostly on Nikola Jokic, who wins MVP, which not surprising at all. Just let the dude get back to his horses in Serbia. That's all he wants to do. It's just great performance from him. Everybody doubted him because nobody basically knew who he was when he was drafted. And then the first few years in the league, it was just like, this is another European player that's going to be meh, and then leave the league after 5 years and go back to Europe. He became a dominant force, and, he won 2 MVPs. Probably should have won a third this year. He obviously wins finals MVP, which like I said, not shocking at all. He should probably be in the discussion of top 5 center of all time. I don't know if people will want to have that conversation, but I believe he's done enough to get in that conversation with the likes of Shaqs, the Kareems, the Bill Russells. I think he deserves to be in that conversation. Will he be? I don't know. But then, like I said, Jamal Murray, another great performance. He coming off of torn ACL in 2021, I believe, getting back to this level takes a lot of time, and obviously it did. It's been 2 years since that. But sometimes, just like reading stuff, you don't come back the same after an ACL tear. I mean, we see it with numerous athletes. They don't look the same after an ACL tear. So for him to get back to this level is astounding. To be consistent, too, is another just amazing thing. Those two basically put the Nuggets on their back, and I can't say I'm surprised. The Nuggets are... I think the question is, do they want to, or not do they want to? Are they the next dynasty? I don't think so. Are they the next Raptors team that wins the finals and just falls off? I don't think so either. I think they fit into a role of the Bucks probably, because the Bucks are still a very good team. They just don't really have a ton of playoff success. So that's where they fall for me. And, big congrats to Denver, basically. Somewhat congrats to Stan Kroenke, 4th title in an 18-month period, basically. The Rams Super Bowl, the Avalanche Stanley Cup, the Mammoths NLL title, which is the National Lacrosse League, and then the Nuggets title. So big congrats to him. Surely he's got no other team in Europe that bottled a league title. Surely not. So given that, nothing really news-wise going on in the NBA today. So no news and notes. So we will move in to Nick Burt's official Week 2 CFL Power Rankings. Come back tomorrow night. Got another full slate of games this weekend. So to officially unveil the Power Rankings of this week, here they are. So Winnipeg and BC stay 1-2. Really, it should be Winnipeg, probably a large gap, and then BC at 2. Winnipeg is just that much better, I believe. Toronto got moved up to 3, even though they didn't play. That's just how it worked out, because Calgary and Hamilton both fall because of their losses. Calgary stays the higher team because it was a somewhat better loss, I'd say. You didn't get blown out, which Tiger Cats did. Didn't move the Rough Riders because it wasn't thoroughly impressing, because you were playing the worst team in the league, and it was a somewhat close game. It is what it is. They'll probably... I won't make guarantees for next week because they do play Winnipeg on Friday. So most likely there will be movement once again. 7 and 8 just switch positions because, like I said in my Week 1 Power Rankings, it was kind of tough figuring out who I would put where with these two. And they just end up swapping positions. And officially at number 9 is the Edmonton Elks. Like I said, by far probably the worst team in the league, and it's just it is what it is with them. They still got a decent way to go before they get to a point of moving up. Maybe they end up beating Ottawa at some point this season. Very possible. You never know what could happen. Maybe they start getting hot. So looking at the schedule for this week, It is loading on my phone. The Calgary Stampeders, they travel to Ottawa to play the Red Blacks tomorrow night at 7:30. Friday, like I said, it's the Winnipeg-Saskatchewan huge rivalry. That game's at 9 p.m. And on Saturday, it's the Elks and the traveling to BC to play the Lions. And then on Sunday, it's the Tiger Cats and the Argonauts. That's at 7 p.m. 4 great games this weekend. It's not technically a rivalry weekend, but you got basically 3 rivalries right there. The only one that's not a rivalry this weekend is the Stampeders Red Blacks game, but the other 3 should be entertaining games. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to them, and hopefully they turn out to be good games. Last week's games, I will admit, weren't the greatest, so hopefully they end up being very good games this weekend. Like I said, don't expect much from the Red Blacks Stampeders game. The Stampeders probably roll a bit easy there. I won't say it's going to be a blowout in the Winnipeg-Saskatchewan game, but Winnipeg's going to have much more of an advantage than Saskatchewan, even though it is in Regina. I would give the Rough Riders maybe a little bit of an advantage because of that, but I still think Winnipeg wins that one by a decent amount. The Elks-Lions game, it's might be high scoring, but it's going to be because the Elks are that bad. And then I think the Tiger Cats Argonauts game should be very interesting. That seems to be the battle for the top of the East Division right now, since the other 2 teams in the division, they're just not going to be competing there this year. So that's going to be your battle for the East this year. It's going to be Argonauts and Tiger Cats. So given that, it should be an interesting weekend of football up north of the border. So we will move on to a quick kick around the pitch. Packed weekend of international football. Got a lot going on, and we will start with the one that's taking place on these shores here in America, the CONCACAF Nations League Finals. That is this weekend, tomorrow, and then I believe Sunday is the final. So the first game tomorrow, both these games are all 3 of these games, I should say, are in Las Vegas. Actually, it might be 4. I think there is a 3rd place game. Nevertheless, all of them are in Las Vegas. They are at the Allegiant Stadium. The first one is the 7 p.m. kickoff tomorrow. It's Panama and Canada. Should be an interesting game, I hope. I think Canada is the much better team here. I don't see Panama winning this game. I don't really know if they'll have a huge chance of winning, but could I see this game like going to extra time or something? Possibly, like if it's a 0-0 or 1-1 tie. But I think Canada is going to win this game. I think they'll be in the Nations League final come Sunday. And then the other game in this is the rivalry of CONCACAF. It's the USA versus Mexico. Obviously, I know a lot of fans on both sides were hoping that this game would be a final instead of a semifinal. But nevertheless, here we are. It is a final, or semifinal, I should say. This should be an absolutely outstanding game. Obviously the U.S. doesn't have a manager right now. We're on the interim head coach with B.J. Callahan, I believe is his name. Anthony Hudson left for a job in Qatar, and Greg Berhalter, we don't know what's happening with him right now. He's been rumored with the Club America job in Mexico and the Sparta Rotterdam job in the Netherlands. Reports are coming out right now that he's turned down the Club America job. He says it's basically because he expects to be one of the final candidates for the U.S. job. So not really surprised there. I thought when I saw that he was reported for both of these jobs within a 24 to 48 hour period, I said, this smells fishy. I think his agent or U.S. Soccer is putting it out there that, oh, he's got interest from other positions and using that so that they can push the narrative that we must rehire this man quickly before he gets snapped up by a different club. Do I think that's something U.S. Soccer would do? Absolutely, I do. I think there's been too many bridges burned with Berhalter to bring him back, but also I feel like the media train has been rolling with Berhalter the past few weeks because now we're starting the train up again of asking the players, do you guys want Berhalter back in media appearances? Obviously, you can't say no. You can't be like, no, we can't have him back. He was awful at managing football or whatever, he would say. But this seems like PR moves so that he can be reappointed. I don't know. I don't know what U.S. Soccer is doing. I don't know if they know what they're doing, if we're honest. But back to this game tomorrow, should be an absolutely entertaining game in Vegas. It's going to be a 75% Mexico crowd. That's just how it's going to end up being. So you're basically going to be playing an away game in your own country, but nevertheless, that's usually what happens when U.S. plays Mexico. That's why the World Cup qualifiers are always in Ohio, basically, because Mexico won't have a home field advantage in Ohio. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to expect from this lineup for the U.S. tomorrow. I don't know if Balogun will get a start or if it will be Pepe. I feel like it's going to be Pepe and you bring Balogun off the bench in like the 60th or 70th minute. Either A, if you need a goal, or basically just whenever. If you need a super sub, he's there. If you just need a regular sub, he's there. I feel like he's not going to start tomorrow. But BJ Callahan could have a completely different game plan in place. I think it helps that the U.S. has their A squad here. They have a C- squad for the Gold Cup, which is in a few weeks. We'll talk about that when the Gold Cup gets closer, which I think it's only a week away. But still, it should be an absolutely entertaining game. If I had to pick who ends up winning, I do think it will be the U.S. Probably extra time. I wouldn't be surprised at all. This Mexican team has fight in it. They are much older now, and they're somewhat bringing in some young talent, but I think the U.S. is just a stronger team right now, and that's how it's going to end up. I think it will be a Canada-U.S. Nations League final. Now that I said that, it's going to be a Mexico-Panama final, and U.S. and Canada will be playing in the third place game if there even is one. I think there is, but there might not be. So, given that the other Nations League is also taking place right now, the UEFA Nations League. So, the first game was today. Second one's tomorrow, semifinals. Then there is a third place game here, and there is a final game, obviously. I believe both of those are on Saturday. Croatia defeated the Netherlands today in extra time, 4-2. Just a great performance from Croatia today. They came back from 1-0 down. It was the 50th minute, I think they got the penalty to tie it up, and they kind of just took control of the game from there. And the Netherlands really had no answer for what Croatia was doing, which I was surprised by. They were in the Netherlands, so I'm kind of shocked by this performance. but also I'm not surprised because Ronald Koeman is obviously the manager now. It's his second stint there. He's not an outstanding manager. I won't say he's awful, but he's just not great. And you kind of saw it today. Frankie de Jong was playing very much out of position and cost the Netherlands, I think it was 2 of the 4 Croatia goals and almost a third one. It's hard to put blame on anybody here. It's definitely on Coleman. It's probably some on the players, but together it's both of them, obviously. So Croatia moves on to the finals. It's a great opportunity for them to win an international trophy, technically, for a country only founded in 91, I believe. Whenever Yugoslavia fell apart, that's when Croatia became a country, I think. I think they were Yugoslavia. They were one of those. But the other game is tomorrow. I think will be an entertaining game. You have Spain taking on Italy. This is also in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is hosting this Nations League final. I don't know what to think here because Italy, they won the Euro in 21, had a lot of retirements, kind of. They missed World Cup 22. Then you got more retirements. So you're getting a more youthful team in now. Italy came out of a group of death, basically, with themselves, Germany, England, and Hungary. England got relegated from that group, which is still something that I don't think enough people talked about, but whatever. Spain, another great performance for them. They never seem to have a real downtime, I'd say. They always just seem to get more and more talent that just replaces their old talent. And they seem to be just good constantly. Given that, I think Spain's the better team here because I don't know what this Italy team's going to look like come tomorrow afternoon. It's hard to bet against Spain, but if the Italians play their way of football, you can't bet against it. They won a Euro based on that football. And obviously they've missed 2 World Cups in a row because of that football. So I guess it will be interesting to see how this plays out. I do think Spain win tomorrow. I think a Spain-Croatia final will be very intriguing for like the neutral person to watch, basically. And a Netherlands-Italy third place game would be very interesting to watch also. So given that, finally we'll talk about, since the show on Friday is obviously at 9 p.m., there are a lot of games happening on Friday that deal with Euro qualification. So we have 5 groups participating. We have 12 matches on Friday. 11 of them are at 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. One of them's at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Not a ton of great matches here. The good teams that are playing are being outmatched or playing a outmatched opponent on the road, like France traveling to Gibraltar, England traveling to Malta. I mean, those are the games that end up being like 6 or 7-0 just because the talent gap between the two. Greece, Ireland, it could possibly be a sneaky good game. I don't know enough about either nation in their iteration right now. I know Ireland has been really struggling at the national level the past few years, like almost the past decade, it feels. So Greece, I don't think they've been good since they won the Euro in 2004, which was, again, still a result that one of the greatest upsets in a tournament history. As we move down, you have North Macedonia, Ukraine. it's a match that's happening. Latvia, Turkey, same way. Wales, Armenia, that could get tricky for Wales. Wales is getting into an interesting place now. They're not as strong as they were. Coming out of the World Cup, you had a lot of retirements. You had a few players just fall off the map, basically. So a lot to be watched there. And then on the other side, like I said, there's not a ton of good games. Finland, Slovenia might be an okay game. It's the only game that's not at 2:45, so it will be something to watch. San Marino, Kazakhstan. San Marino, I don't think has won a game since 2003 or something like that. I don't think they've gained a point from a game in more than 10 years. So that's always something to watch there, is if San Marino can get a point, which I don't think will happen. And then the other three matches, this is Euro qualification, so you're not going to get a ton of great matches. You're going to get a lot of games that are going to be a severely outmatched team versus a team that's far superior than them, which is basically what a lot of these are. So that's it. Those are on Friday, as I mentioned. So given that is it for today. Thank you for watching. It has been a great time talking about, a lot going on. We're coming into the summer months. We'll probably be struggling for topics some days, but, we'll get through it. We can easily get through it. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you have a great night, and we will be back on Friday for another outstanding edition.